When I showed up, my son and his in-laws had already wrapped up their year-end meal. My son sneered. You. Have you ever walked into a room, expecting a warm family dinner, only to realize the joke's on you, and you're the punchline? It felt like my entire world shattered in that moment, when my own son smirked and told me to pick up the check for a meal I hadn't even eaten. And his wife, oh, she just laughed, a sharp, callous sound, calling me slow as if it was a pre-rehearsed act they'd all agreed upon. They thought I'd just sigh, pull out my card, and swallow the shame, just like always. But what they didn't know was that I'd finally seen them for who they really were. And I was done pretending this was love or family. This isn't just a story about a dinner bill or a public insult. No. This is about a betrayal that cuts so deep because it comes from your own child. It's about a humiliation that burns because it's served with laughter by people who should care. And it's about a revenge that doesn't scream, doesn't beg, and absolutely doesn't miss. Stick with me, because a twist they never saw coming is exactly what made them realize they picked the wrong man to mock. And the bill they thought I would pay, well, that was nothing compared to the price they were about to face. My name is Richard Lawson. I'm 63, a retired structural engineer. For 40 years, I designed bridges and overpasses across Wyoming, believing that building strong things meant something. That if you created structures meant to last, the same principles would hold true for family. I was so wrong about that. The restaurant was called Carmichael's, one of those places where the menus don't list prices, and the waiters speak in hushed tones like they're serving communion. I'd never been there before. When my son, Daniel, texted me the address 3 days earlier, year-end family dinner, 7 p.m. sharp, I assumed it was his way of making amends for missing Thanksgiving. I even wore the blazer Grace, my late wife, had given me that last Christmas, thinking it might be nice to look presentable. I arrived at 7:02 p.m., 2 minutes late, because I'd circled the block looking for parking that didn't cost $20 an hour. When the hostess led me to the private dining room, I heard the laughter before I saw them. It was that kind of laughter that stops when someone walks in, not because they are surprised, but because the joke was asterisk about you. The table was cluttered with empty plates, steak bones picked clean, lobster shells cracked open, wine glasses still holding the last red swells of something expensive. They'd already finished eating. All of them. Daniel, my son, sat at the far end, his napkin folded neatly beside a dessert plate smeared with chocolate. His wife, Evelyn, barely looked up from her phone. Her parents, Thomas and Linda Carter, occupied the head of the table like visiting royalty. They had this particular smugness, you know, the kind that says, "We've earned everything we have." "Dad," Daniel said, offering a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "You made it." "Traffic." I lied. There hadn't been any. Nobody stood to greet me. Nobody pulled out a chair. I found an empty seat between a busboy's cart and the wall, the only place setting without food stains. Thomas Carter swelled his wineglass, looking at me the way you might look at a stain on expensive upholstery. "Richard, good of you to join us. We were just discussing investments. Probably not your area of expertise, but feel free to listen." Linda laughed, a sound like ice cracking. "Thomas, don't be cruel. I'm sure Richard has his own simple pleasures. Fishing, isn't it? Or was it woodworking?" "Both," I said. "How quaint." She exchanged a glance with Evelyn. Quick, practiced, like they'd rehearsed it. The conversation continued around me as if I were furniture. Thomas bragged about a commercial development deal that would change the chain's skyline.